What's up, Inside Lines fam? How are y'all doing? Happy Thanksgiving. I'm your host, Atoya Burleson, and it is that time of the year where we reflect and figure out what we're truly thankful for. And as we dive into this theme of thankfulness and gratitude, I want to start off by sharing a personal message about what's close to me, what I'm thankful for. There's so much to be thankful for in our lives, like the air we breathe, the freedoms we have, the food on the table, and the roof over our heads. And when I think about the roof over my head, I also think about what's inside, right? And I'm incredibly thankful for the life and the love inside of my home. My husband and my kids, they are my why. They are my driving force behind everything I do. And life can be difficult, but also beautiful during the journey. And I'm incredibly thankful to tackle it hand in hand with my husband. Through all the ups and downs, we've learned to just navigate the paths by really leaning into the pillars of communication, empathy, forgiveness, and grace. You know, God gives us grace. We need to give each other grace. And some days, you know, you think about the challenges. There's some hard days. But it's in those moments that your bond grows stronger. So it's in those moments of difficulty where you lean in and you talk about things and you share your experiences and what you're going through, and they do the same. And if you can find a level of empathy and understanding, it really does go a long way. And I hope that my kids understand that importance. You know, number one is always your relationship with God. I truly believe that in my heart of hearts, but also with the relationship of God. It doesn't stop there. They also have to, in that, understand and know and exemplify the importance of communication, being vulnerable, and knowing that the person that they choose in their lives has to exemplify the same things. They have to show those same attributes within a relationship in order for it to be strong. You know, I know a lot of people that love God, but they don't know how to communicate. They aren't vulnerable. They don't know how to show empathy and grace to others. So God is number one, but there's also so many more components that I hope each one of them not only continues to grow within themselves, but that they also find in their significant other long ways down the road. I'm also thankful for my parents and my siblings, from whom I've learned so much about life. It's in those lessons as you're younger, good or bad. You know, you're going to go through things in your own family, but you learn the lessons. And I'm appreciative of that. And for my parents, for my siblings, and I can't forget the rest of my family, you know, my nieces and my nephews. Kids always bring joy. So I love kids, and I understand the importance of kids. They bring you that wonder and that joy and that purpose of existence on earth. And so I'm beyond grateful for all of the kids in my life, even my kids' friends. I still speak to them, speak into them, love on them. It's so, so important. So thank you for the kids that have shown me what really matters in life. I'm also beyond grateful for my friends, my girlfriends. I have incredible girlfriends, women who support me. I can lean on without hesitation. They are the ones that make me laugh. I can trust them with my heart, what I'm thinking. And that connection is something I treasure immensely. My girlfriends are one-on-one, each and every one of them. They bring something different to the table. And I'm so thankful that God put amazing women in my life that I can listen to, I can laugh with, and that I can show love to. Another source of gratitude comes from the businesses that God's created or planted in my heart. My purpose with Inside Lines podcast and Ladies Playbook stems from a genuine desire to serve, to connect, to empower women. It's fulfilling to witness others grow and shine. It's fulfilling to foster relationships with other women where they can be their best selves and we can shine together. I hope to continue fostering a space where women feel comfortable sharing their story and that they understand and feel that spirit within every single episode. Speaking of every single episode, I am thankful for you all. I'm thankful for my listeners. I'm thankful for your support and your comments. They mean the world to me. It's because of you that Inside Lines exists. and it's thrived over these past 6 seasons almost. And I'm forever grateful for each and every one of you. And if you can think of anything that you want me to talk about, whether it's a topic, having someone on, whatever it is, please reach out and let me know. I look forward to continuing this season with you of Inside Lines all the way through the Super Bowl. And if you haven't been to this live Super Bowl show, get your tickets and come this year. It's in New Orleans. It's going to be amazing. Come and enjoy women in person. Feel the energy. Listen to the panelists and the speakers. You will immensely enjoy it. So stay tuned, as I will be rolling out when those dates are, or sometime after the holidays. So now that we've reflected and I've told you how thankful I am for all the people in my life, I'm also thankful for couples that are vulnerable and willing to speak. And this couple is incredible. They exemplify all those things I talked about earlier with communication and empathy and grace and, working together. So I'd like to now introduce to you our double date with Atoya and Nate episode with Marissa and Jeff Allen of Cookie Society. Enjoy. On Double Date with Atoya and Nate, we have the founders of the best cookie in the world. Please welcome to the show the owners of Cookie Society, Jeff and Marissa Allen. Hello.
What's up, family? Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming on. There's so many elements to talk about with y'all. But I just appreciate you taking the time to come on from a different perspective. This is obviously about relationships and growth and vulnerability. And so I'm so excited to talk to you from a space of that, but also because you work together a lot so that we have so much to cover. But I want to back it up a bit because I don't know if people know that y'all were both athletes.
Yeah.
They might know a little bit about Jeff, just a little bit, but talk about, with you both being athletes, you can talk about, who you are and what you've done, your accolades, but talk about how that's really kind of helped set the foundation, of you both meeting and who you are during that time.
That's probably the biggest foundation of our relationship, but also how we run our business. And I think that's the only reason we still are able to successfully work together every single day without killing each other. I played soccer at the University of Illinois at a soccer scholarship, played all 4 years, and was just always used to grinding with the team and grinding for the good of the team and doing what was necessary. Definitely not on the scale that Jeff played at, but It definitely was the same skill set. So we got to get it done. There's no choice. You have a contribution to make. Everybody on the team is important. And I think we definitely carried that into our business.
Yeah, if it wasn't for sports, Cookie Society wouldn't exist. I met her in the training room. So in Illinois, back in the day, we used to share athletic facility, and soccer, football, all their sports had the same training room, shared the same trainers. And I was hurt for the first time. Never was hurt in college, got hurt at a hip pointer. And this girl came in all bubbly and happy while I was sitting on the training table and said hi. And I had headphones on. She said hi, and I couldn't really hear her. Took one off my ear. And then I put it back on because I was upset. And then I came to my senses. It was like, this is a really pretty beautiful girl.
Oh,
and
nice.
Didn't see her again for a while. Saw her like 2 months later at a bar and asked her on a date. She looked very, very beautiful. She was dressed nice. I walked up like a gentleman and she said, nah. She said, nah, all you football players are the same. And I'm like, I had to just take it on the chin, So I took it for what it was. I walked away with my head high. And about a week later, she sent me a friend request on Facebook. And she put up a status and she said, I think it's weird that guys don't ask for numbers anymore. They ask for Facebooks. And I commented in public and I said, wow, that's crazy. What's your number? And
come on,
that's how we started dating. We've been dating ever since.
That is so beautiful. I love that. So here's the question. I need to know, was Marissa thinking like, nah, y'all football players are all alike, like because you feel like he curved you when you first said hi? Or was it just the generality of like what you've experienced in college?
I had seen too much. Like at that point, I think I was my sophomore year. And I'm like, these guys are wild. And he hadn't seen me in a few months because I never went out. But my teammates, I think we were in the off season or something. And we were finally like, have this moment to go out. So I was like, yeah, I'll tag along with y'all. And I'll
put in it. This is how this really happened though. So I never went out in college. And I actually was out celebrating with teammates because I decided to come back for my senior season. I thought about leaving. I got the draft eval, didn't like my ranking. I was like, I'm going to go back, finish my degree. Worst case scenario, I'll get the same rating or I can improve it. Right. And if I didn't do that, I never would have met her. So I'm happy I made that decision. It was the best decision I ever made, not just for football, but for our family. So,
okay. So you guys, you had a little bit of a puppy love situation in college. At what point did either of you realize like this was it? This was the one?
For me, so she still had a year of college left. So she's a year younger. So she was back at school in Champaign. My rookie year, I was in Kansas City by myself, a lot of change, transitioning, trying to figure out how to play professional football and be a pro. And during that whole transitioning process, I can remember, guys were going out. I would go out from time to time, but I remember I would always think about her. And she was always in my mind. I was like, you know what? I've never thought about a girl this much. This is the one. Every decision I made, I had her in mind. And we weren't even engaged. So I was like, you know what? I don't know why I'm wasting time. I ended up getting engaged to her that winter, right before Christmas Eve.
Season not even over yet.
I love it. Were you shocked? Like, was it a surprise? How did you feel during that?
At first, not really, because I think we had been serious like the duration of our relationship. Yeah. We were both in season at the same time, which made it very hard. But when he had an opportunity, he drove to Mizzou. We were playing Mizzou, I think, in maybe the Big Ten tournament. And he drove to Mizzou to just say hi, basically, because they had walked through the next day. Yeah, I think it was a Friday night. It was a Friday night. And he drove all that way. It was like 2 hours, I think, each way, just to say hi, give me a hug, because we hadn't seen each other. And there was always this level of intentionality in our relationship. And I think it's because we really valued our time. We managed our time. And so it's like, man, when I have some, I really just want to spend it with him. I remember that I had knee surgery. And I took the bus to Chicago on crutches multiple times, the Greyhound, to go visit him at his mom's house when he had breaks. And so it was always us. And so I think I was just as serious as he was throughout that whole thing. And there was never a question that I was going to go live in Kansas City with Jeff.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that is.
What would you say? Okay, so you finish, you graduate, you go to Kansas City, and you're like, okay, I know I have my boo, but I don't know nothing else. How was that transition for you in the space of like starting over? Because you're literally starting over for yourself. You know no one. There's not one girl you know. How was it for you in dealing with that?
It was really hard, really, really hard. Because also at the time, I don't think a lot of the linemen were in relationships yet. So I think there was maybe just like 3. And so it was just really different. There wasn't this automatic, like, I'm going to introduce you to so-and-so's wife, right? Yeah. And I was always so driven and an achiever myself. Like I was involved in soccer. Yeah. And so now here I am. What am I working towards? I applied for countless jobs. In marketing and advertising and pharma sales. And Kansas City was a really small job market, still isn't the biggest. Yeah. And I just couldn't find anything. And I remember just feeling really low. Just, what am I doing? And like, I love you and I'm happy to be here. And I knew I was where I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be there to support Jeff. And like you mentioned, that first year was rough. There was a lot going on, not just with him, but just with the organization that he was kind of dealing with. And just that transition from college ball to professional, and it's just a lot. And so I knew I was where I needed to be, but I also at the same time was fighting my own demons, just feeling useless, feeling unaccomplished. And that's when I started blogging. That was really what I'm like, I need to channel this. And so I started writing about it.
From writing about it, did you feel like women could relate? Were they like, yes?
Yeah, I think so. And it was before all of the NBA wives and the NFL wives. There's so many shows now. And so this was, I think, a more raw version of what it was like. And Kansas City was a really unique place. Despite the fact that the offensive line didn't have a ton of relationships yet, they were very family oriented, very community oriented. We got invited. I did eventually meet some amazing women, and they'd invite us over for dinner, and we had Bible studies, and we just showed up for each other, which was really nice. But I don't know. I was really struggling at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you see the struggle?
Yeah.
I was trying to hide it from him.
Honestly, I wouldn't say it was a struggle for me. It was one, I was trying to navigate everything I was going through personally, but also be there for you, knowing that you're a high achiever, knowing a high performer, you've done great things your entire life. So I knew you were sacrificing. I never lost that, but I also was dealing with a lot. So I wasn't mature enough at that time to be able to fully give you what you needed at that time, but we grew together.
Yeah. And I would write about that. It was more surface level than, what we've shared recently, but I would write about that, and people kept up, and I would share tidbits of our life, and it was cool. It was a good start.
Yeah, no, Jeff, I identify with that completely. Recognizing that, your woman is putting everything on the shelf, trying to support you. And we are young. Basically, we're just like old teenagers with a lot of money and trying to figure out our own identity, struggling with, who we are in our place, not just on the team, but in this league. And then trying to navigate a whole relationship. So I feel you on that. But it takes time to mature, and that's why we're the best husbands ever right now, because we get through it. And we have that self-awareness, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we know how much we can improve. All right, so tell us how Cookie Society got started. Like, what was the inception, the origin story of that?
Yeah, so when we travel, we base our travel around food. I'm an offensive lineman. We like to eat. So anytime we go places, we create an itinerary, and in our itinerary would be where we're going to eat. In 2017, we went to New York. That's the mecca of food, in my opinion. Chicago's right up there. But we went to this place called Levain Bakery. She found it, and I thought it was a bakery. It's called a bakery. So we stood in line for 45 minutes near Central Park, and we went into this tiny space down some stairs in the basement. And I get to the front, and they have 4 cookies and a croissant. So I'm like, I asked the lady, I was like, you guys out for the day? She's like, no, this is all that we sell. And I look at her, and I'm upset. I'm like, I thought this was a bakery.
And he's like hunched over.
But we ended up getting a few cookies, and we went across the street, sat on the bench at the park, and I bit into the cookie, and I never had anything like it before. It was an experience. It's amazing. And I turned toward her because she's super competitive like I am. And it was reverse psychology. I said, you can't make anything like this. And it was just so she could go home to make it for me. We weren't thinking about it.
You weren't even thinking about a business. You just
weren't even thinking about a business. I'm not going to be able to get to New York during the season. So I need this at home. So she went home and she started to play in the kitchen, trying to figure out how to recreate a Levain style cookie. Couldn't figure it out. So she was like, I'm going to make a cookie the way I think you should make it. And that's how we developed the recipe.
Yeah.
The rest is history.
Isn't that fascinating that like you can go to a place, and because I've been there, as athletes, we look at, and we all can identify with this, we look at our bodies as the business, and we're like, we have to maximize our athletic ability, both physically, mentally, literally give everything just to make a fraction of what we think our value is. Mm-hmm. But then you'll walk into a business that is focused on what they do well, and you're like, how in the world are they maximizing just this small menu, whether it's a smash burger place, a cookie place, a boutique clothing store? Yeah. I'm always fascinated by business, and I walk away thinking, how are they doing that? And then how can I do that in other spaces in my life? Did you guys think about that? Like after you got through the self-serving reverse psychology of like, did you also start to ponder on the idea like, yo, if we do this right, we don't have to overcomplicate it, and it can be successful?
I think that was the part that we were stuck on. Yes, the cookie was amazing, but when we would tell people about it, we told them about that experience. It always starts with the 45-minute wait outside. And what was crazy was people in the line were just excited for our first time. And they're like, oh my gosh, your lives are about to be changed. Oh my gosh, you have to try this. And I have told all of my family about it. And I think that's the part that stuck with us well beyond the bag of cookies, was these people were they were not just fans. They were advocates. Like these people were beyond just, I buy cookies occasionally. And so when I started making these cookies and sending them to the locker room and I started receiving similar feedback, I think it was, wow, like, I wonder if that could be us. I wonder if that's an experience we could bring to where we are. And Jeff has always been gung-ho, and Jeff has always been our number one supporter. And so he was the first one to say, this could be a business. We had, what, an 8-month-old?
I said $1 million business.
$1 million business. He sure did. And I'm like, you're crazy. We got 2 small children, 2 under 2. And I just make good cookies a lot. I don't know if that's the basis for a business. But he was like, why not? They have 5 products, Marissa. 5. And so that really got the wheels turning. It was with his encouragement. I think otherwise I would have just been the cookie lady. Jeff's wife makes good cookies.
That's awesome though, because listen, there's no better like testing site than the NFL locker room.
I'm telling you.
We like to eat. The linemen eat too, but everybody, it's crazy. It's a whole bunch of millionaires, but if it's free, it's free. Like, they're like, what? Who got what for free? And we got food. Yeah. We got some of the best food in the cafeteria. Yeah. But if you bring in something home cooked, like guys get excited. So Jeff, how was that when you would bring those cookies into the locker room?
Man, it was a madhouse. And I started off just giving it to the offensive line after wins. And then training camp, she would send a care package and I would just give it to the O-line. And then the tight end started getting mad. And then the quarterback's like, you forgot about me. Then the defensive side of the ball, like, yo. So we started sending quite a few cookies after wins and people were raving about it. And I told her personally, I said, look, this is $1 million business. It's amazing. But I don't think what I was telling her was enough. So once she started getting that validation from my teammates and family and friends and everyone's saying, can I buy these things? That's when we really, really leaned into turning this into a business.
That's dope.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's not that you don't believe your significant other when they tell you, but at the same time, you're like, you just telling me that because you love me, you know?
That's exactly what I said.
I mean, that's true too.
Right?
Yeah, we also believe it.
Right.
Yeah.
But, if it was terrible, would you tell us that it wasn't terrible?
Nah, our job isn't to tell you. Well, it depends on what it is.
He has told me that is not good.
That's when I have my business hat on, that's when I got to be honest, But if you weren't turning this into a business, I wouldn't tell you they were good or bad. I'd just give you,
That's it. That's all the feedback I'm going to say. Okay, what would you say? Okay, tell us what your top 3 selling cookies are. Top 3.
Chocolate chip, the crookie. It's our version of a croissant cookie, and peach cobbler.
Peach cobbler or butter cake.
Or butter cake, yeah. Those are definitely at the top.
Oof.
Let me tell y'all something. I sent that peach cobbler cookie. So I started changing it up and I would send stuff out to people during the holidays. You know how like back in the day, people, what's the name of that popcorn place? They would send you the
Garrett's
in Chicago. They would send you that. So I was like, I'm going to do this cookie society. I sent it to my friends and they loved it. Actually, y'all have a diehard, one of my friends in Dallas, Shaditra, she comes to Cookie Society all the time. She's like, I'm obsessed. I just can't figure out how they do it. Like she's more obsessed with how y'all do it because the cookies literally taste like an experience. Like that peach cobbler cookie, it's like, you don't think, how's it going to taste like peach cobbler? It's like, how did they build a cookie around the peach cobbler in the cookie? It literally is an experience. So
that's what we're going for.
I don't know how y'all do it.
But keep doing it.
But keep doing it. And they're so soft. You know how you buy a cookie, but by the end of the day, it's hard. Or the next morning you wake up and it's hard. Y'all stuff is just, woo. Okay, let me stop talking about it because I'm getting hungry. But no, I could understand why those 3 are your top 3 sellers, especially the croissant, because I think you guys know about the croissant. They call it what do they call it here in New York?
Cronut.
The cronut.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm just like, the way y'all kind of spin it is actually very genius, what y'all do. So keep it up. Okay. I want to talk about, you guys built this together, right? And with that, it's the highs and the lows, and you're trying to figure it out. And then you figure out your roles. Like, I'm doing this part. I'm doing this part. How did you come about in figuring out what's going to work for you as far as a business infrastructure?
Early on, she was primarily doing day-to-day, and she still does day-to-day. But I was more in the role of, I was at home with the kids. So I retired and went straight to a stay-at-home dad. And I realized, man, this is way harder than football. this is way harder than football. I should have got a couple more years in, but it was the best decision that I could have ever made. One, it gave me more of appreciation for my wife and what she's done. I've always appreciated it, but you don't really know what someone is dealing with unless you deal with it. You have your thoughts and assumptions, but when you in the fire, you like, okay, this is what she's been dealing with. So I loved her more because of it. And I was able to have more patience. I became a better communicator. And then once we started to get our feet underneath us and start to really go all in on Cookie Society, we were ready for the moment.
Yeah. It was interesting because when he was at home, there were so many roadblocks that I ran into as a female trying to start a business. And so I would call certain vendors and they would brush me off or they wouldn't call me back. And I was very specific. I knew what I needed. For example, trying to get some packaging options. And I'd come home and I'd tell Jeff about it. He's like, well, I'll just give him a call tomorrow. And he would have us a purchase order by the end of the day. And so naturally, he kind of fell into that role. And we both love numbers. We both forecasting. That's kind of our jam. He didn't mention it, but he was doing some financial service type internships while he was playing. Jeff has always been a very forward thinker. And he interned with a couple financial firms, I guess, in Kansas City. And so we were very much, is this still working? Constantly checking in. Are we spending more than we're making? Does this make sense? We didn't want to just throw a bunch of money at it. And he took it just was natural, like watching him kind of have those conversations and look at those things and talk about what we needed to do for the next step felt really natural. So he kind of fell into that and I stepped back. And I fell into a more creative role and just dealing with people. We couldn't run it exactly like an NFL locker room. That was a problem for a little bit. He was just like, you have a job to do. You need to show up and do it because the NFL is not playing. Right. And I'm like, they're 18, they're 17. It's a different group of people. And so we got to motivate in a different way. And so I kind of took over that role. And I think we established it really early on because we had no choice. We couldn't both, our kids were so young when we started, we couldn't both be at the store or at every single meeting. And so when we did start hiring on additional people, it was really easy for them to even see our separate roles and it's never caused friction. I think I'm really grateful for that because I know sometimes if you decide to split those responsibilities too late, at this point, your team's picking sides or just a bunch of things can happen. And for us, it was always very clear. And if you have a question about X, Y, and Z, that is a question for Jeff. And he would direct them to me and he trusted me to handle it. And I always trusted him to handle his job. I don't feel the need to, come behind him and check. And he does the same with me. So a lot of mutual respect, early division is what did it for us.
Yeah, you both talked about communication, which I love to hear because I think, when you come from two different backgrounds, you're not really sure how communication is going to go, right? You've learned two different ways to communicate. How did you forge your path of communication together?
Trial and error.
Like getting it wrong?
Facts. Trial and error. But I think, honestly, all of our relationship, we've been on the same page and we kind of speak the same language by having that background of being athletes. So we understand the value of teamwork. We know what the ultimate goal is for our business, for our family, and we know our roles, right? I'm going to defer to her in certain scenarios, and she's going to defer to me in certain scenarios. And she's an expert in her field, and I'm an expert in mine. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes it such a better partnership, business and personal. And it's given us that trust in one another.
Yeah, our home runs like the business. So I think them running parallel like that and has helped us a lot. But the trial and error was there. No one always like this.
No doubt. For people who will watch this and listen to this, and they are sitting there with an idea and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to make the first move. They're scared to make that first step. They're just filled with anxiety and trepidation. What advice would you give them?
I'm going to go first.
Yeah, you go first.
I'm sure we got two different pieces of advice. Mine is you have to start. And so I'm such a planner. And so I'm like, I'm about to business plan this and we're going to avoid failure because I'm just going to plan it so well. And I think the plan that I started out with, we are well beyond it. We have taken multiple left turns, right turns, and I would say you have to get something out there. You can't just keep it in your head. And so your first version will probably be your worst version. And if it's not your worst version, then you probably need to humble yourself and keep improving, because there's room for improvement there. You have to get it out. You have to accept that feedback. And if it's not something you're comfortable receiving feedback on, like if it's just, oh my gosh, this is my life's work, it's my passion, but I really don't want to hear what you have to say, it's probably not a viable business. And this is a hard conversation we have with a lot of people. And if you can't take any sort of feedback on quality, process, anything, and we're talking valid feedback, everybody's got something to say, but you have to be able to process it. If you can't process it because it just hurts you to your core, then you should probably keep it for yourself. And that was my fear when we started Cookie Society. I just love making cookies. What if I don't want to hear what they have to say? But we found a way really quickly to process that feedback, take it for what it was, apply it when needed. And you have to know that when you're going into it, that this is not the end and people are going to have opinions.
Nailed it. Along the same lines, you just have to do it. And then you have to realize that anything worth having is going to be hard. And it's all of that doubt, all of that uncertainty, it's a part of the process, right? But as you go along the journey, you'll get used to dealing with it. You'll get used to doing hard things. It's not that things get easier. You just get used to it. It's just like our journeys of being professional athletes. Think about all those moments of failure and doubt that we have.
That's a fact.
All those things we have to persevere, the injuries, the politics at times. You have to mentally be strong enough to control what you can during that situation and believe that ultimately you're going to achieve that goal. And that's business. That's to a T. You have to believe in your dream, your goal. You have to be able to go through all those failures and treat them as lessons, because that's what they are. If that failure isn't a lesson, then it's done. You're done.
Yeah, that's good.
You're done. So you have to take that as an opportunity. Don't continue to make the same mistakes. But when they do happen, just look at them like, okay, I can learn from this. You'll be better for it.
That's really good.
Great advice. I love that. Okay, so this is going to be a hard question for y'all. If you only could choose one cookie to eat for the rest of your life, what would it be?
This is easy for me. I'm going to say peach cobbler. That's going to be it.
I'm going pecan pie. It's my time is coming. It's next month, and I just love pecan pie. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, hot, cold. I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
That's definitely mine. That's every day.
I love that. Okay, so I want to talk about compromise, because everybody talks about compromise in relationships and what that looks like. We all know there's certain things you want to compromise on, but when you think you're right, you don't want to compromise. How did you come up with a way to really see the other person and find that compromise within the relationship?
For me personally, it was, I know how much she sacrificed while I was playing, right? I know she compromised like hell during that entire 9 years that I played in the NFL. So it was a little bit easier for me because I was able to immediately transition from that to being a full-time dad and part-time businessman. Now I'm full-time on both ends. But I was able to get a glimpse of what she was doing while I was playing. So that I don't know, that admiration for her just grew more. And I appreciate her so much more. So it was easy for me to compromise. I was going to support her where she supported me.
Mine was similar when it comes to at home. I was definitely harder on the business front, if we're being real. Because I was like, I have just poured my love into this. And Jeff actually went back to play. So he temporarily retired once. Okay. And then he went back. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to come to fruition? Because we had signed a lease on our first retail store. And this man is in Kansas City. And so this was, I think you guys lost in the AFC.
We lost in the AFC title.
That first time. He goes back the next year. And then that's the Super Bowl year. So I'm like, okay, he got to be done now. That was my compromise. So for a while, I'm like, that's it. You got to come home. But when it came to business, I didn't want to compromise kind of my vision. So initially, I thought Cookie Society was going to be a really great local small town bakery, and I was going to go in and I would work every day or most days, and I would try different things, and we'd pop stuff up on the menu, and we'd just be the best cookie in Frisco, our city where we live. And then I was going to come home, and it just really took off. And that was when we had to not change quality or compromise the recipe, but we had to pare down the offerings. And that Jeff saw that. He's like, you're going to burn yourself out. We won't be standing if we don't make some changes. And it took a lot for me to kind of step aside and like, you're right. And when I finally compromised, I mean, life just got so much easier for us. The path to growth, I feel like, really opened up because now we had processes and they were no longer depending on me to innovate for the next pop-up item or the next menu item that we were doing. And that was all him. And because he was seeing it from a different angle, he was seeing me come home dead on my feet. He was seeing the quality struggles the minute I walked out. So anytime I wasn't there, that's when we get some feedback that something wasn't like it was last week. And he's like, we've got to focus more on the business. And I know you want a bakeress, but like, this is going somewhere. Remember I said it was going to be $1 million business, and we've got to focus on process so somebody else can do it other than you, because your kids, your family needs you. Yeah. And that was probably the biggest compromise I think we've had to make in business so far.
When it comes to taking care of each other or taking care of yourself or just surviving within the relationship outside of work and outside of kids, what is something that you guys do separately and what is something you guys do together to unplug, detach, and just live in moments that make you smile?
I was like, if I don't call myself out, we're actually expecting our third child. I'm 6.5 months pregnant now. So thank you. So we're doing January with number 3. And I think the biggest one is Jeff will call and tattle on me. So his mom lives in town and my parents live in town. And they called yesterday, like, Marissa needs to get some rest. And my dad showed up at work to tell me to go home. And he was in support of this.
Yes, I am 100%.
And
That is a beautiful thing, though.
Right?
That is come on now. That's a beautiful thing, Marissa.
It is. But that is how. That is how he will send me home. He said, we will figure out the rest. That's our version of it right now. Not necessarily in the form of spa visits or anything. Yeah, we got softball tonight and we got baseball tomorrow, but
we're busy, but we find time and we find moments. And when we get a chance to travel, we travel. We have our TV shows that we watch when we get home. Yeah. For me personally, I like to read and game. That's what I do in my spare time. And she loves to cook. I know sometimes people don't see that as therapy, but for her, she likes to be in the kitchen. Anytime she's not making anything work related, it's an escape for her. So
I love that.
It's an escape for her. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Listen, I just want to say the fact that you guys find that way to balance and like recognize, like, you need to sit down, like take some time for yourself. That's a beautiful thing because a lot of people get stuck in the rat race. You know, it really is a rat race. And, you know, having that collegiate mind, you know, that athletic mind, it's like always go, go, go. So sometimes it does take someone else like pumping the brakes for you, like stop, take a minute. Yeah. I understand that for sure.
No, you're right. You're completely right. Like when we started to have some momentum and we saw the growth potential, automatically as athletes and competitors, we thought, okay, let's hurry up and get this thing to market because competitors are going to come. Let's try to race to whatever this invisible finish line is so we can be the biggest and best. Yeah. And then we realized, okay, that's going to be a compromise for our family. Yeah. We're going to make sacrifices and we're going to lose some things that we may not want to lose. So we kind of pumped the brakes a little bit on the business side and slowed down and realized that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And we've grown fast, but we've been intentional about what we've done and we've taken our time.
That's good. I know, Jeff, you're involved in philanthropy. That's really important to you. Where did this come about? And tell us, you know, how you got involved.
You know, for me, food insecurity is a big thing. I grew up and sometimes I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. I grew up, you know, with a single parent. My mom worked 2-3 jobs, but sometimes, you know, it wasn't enough. And she would make sacrifices. There'd be days where she didn't eat and she would let me eat. So I have a soft spot for that big time because I know what that feeling is like. I know what it's like to go to school and the embarrassment of having a free lunch card, right? You know, every kid should have access to food and shouldn't have to have that thought in their mind. So that's big for me, and making sure that kids have the proper nutrition and things so they can thrive and develop the right way from an educational standpoint and a physical standpoint. So we put a lot into that.
That's beautiful. You know what? It's funny you say that because I remember thinking about that. There was a kid, to your point, when we had those cards and, you only get a certain amount and they were told that there was nothing on their card. I remember those moments. And when you think back to that, you're like, gosh, I could only imagine how that felt. You know what I'm saying? Like no kid should have to go through that. And as a young kid, you don't really realize it, how big of a moment that was for that child that they'll remember for the rest of their lives until you get older and you're like, wow, I remember so-and-so like that was terrible. Like, why isn't there something when they give that card, if they see that, they just stamp it and keep them moving along, right? It's like, there's ways that we can definitely better that. So, I often think about like a couple people like that. And I wonder like, where they are. And to your point, how they've, used what you've done, you're like, this is going to be something that I remember and I'm going to do something about it. So I applaud that for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to play a game. It's called the 2-minute drill. You know all about it. And it's just a way for people to get to know you, each one of you, and you each can answer. And then we'll ask you some questions where you can tell us if it's either yourself or the other person. So we'll go back and forth with this, okay? All right, let me start the timer. 2-minute timer.
Okay.
I always start with this question because it's easy. All right. Besides the team you played on, name your favorite sports team.
Chicago Bears.
Okay.
I guess the Saints. My family's from Louisiana.
Okay.
There you go. All right.
Favorite movie?
Ooh, This Christmas.
Oh.
Ooh, me, Goodfellas.
Ooh, it's a classic.
I knew you were going to say that.
I was watching it the other day.
Yeah,
Okay. Who is the night owl?
This guy.
me for sure.
So that would make you the early bird, Marissa?
Yes, I'm up 4 or 5 in the morning. I got y'all.
Wow. Who's the messy one?
Marissa.
I'm doing more.
All
Listen,
right.
she's the person that has 1 million tabs up on her computer. Like,
Okay. All right.
you should see the bottom
That's
of her
her too.
purse.
My phone's dead. I'm like, you have every tab open in your phone. Like,
Yeah.
running simultaneously.
We was
What are you
handling
doing?
business. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. How do you think things get done?
Scatterbrain.
Tabs.
Yeah.
That's me.
Okay. If you could choose one, family, game night, or date night?
Family.
Family game. Yeah. Like family game night. They're one, right?
No, family.
Yeah.
Family,
game night or date. Yeah.
Family
We
game
would
night.
choose game night.
Yeah.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee all
Tea.
day.
Okay. Yeah.
Jeff, what is your favorite meal that Marissa cooks?
You make so much good stuff. I'm gonna probably say chicken parmesan.
Chicken parm.
Speaking my language. I'm coming over, Marissa.
Come on over. I love feeding people.
What about Jeff? What's your favorite meal that he makes?
Jeff can throw down on the grill. Like
Okay.
steak. I'm talking steak, potatoes. I usually make the sides, but I trust him on the grill. Anything grilled. He smokes a mean brisket when he's got the time
brisket.
for
Smash
it.
burgers.
Smash burgers. No one's doing them better.
Okay.
So-
Do you guys have one of those Traegers?
Yeah.
We got 2 of those Traegers.
Oh, y'all smoking?
I got everything. I got
Oh,
everything.
y'all, because
Y'all
we
was
have,
Khalifa smoking over there.
listen, we have one. We have not figured out how to get that thing to work.
I just use the regular grill. Yeah, I
He's like,
haven't, I
we
haven't
gonna use
mastered
this.
the
I'm like,
smoking yet.
no, use the
I
trigger.
got you.
I have
I can
this.
teach you
I
guys.
have this dream
All right,
in my
man. I might
mind.
hit you, bro. I'm gonna get your info.
Gotcha.
And get
Yes.
the pointer.
Gotcha.
Because for Thanksgiving, I really want to smoke a turkey.
Oh, you
It's
going
not-
big. That's where you going to start?
It's really easy with a Traeger. It's practically an oven. So as long as you got the pellets in there, you set the temperature, you can forget about it. You
Okay.
got it.
All right,
Nate,
guys.
I don't know who to call. Now.
All
We're
right.
going to have them sponsor this conversation and we can continue
Fact.
it.
That's
See, I like what you're thinking. There you go.
business mind for sure. Okay, tell us individually who you both admire.
Ooh, outside of me admiring
Yeah.
you, because Jeff has overcome a lot. I think probably my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I think my mom, just because as you get older, you kind of see things differently.
Yeah.
And when the family, they start telling you things, and you start learning things.
You're like,
and
wait,
everything starts to make more sense. I'm an only child. And so I always felt like, oh my gosh, y'all are always breathing down my neck. But my mom has seen things. She has been through things. She has risen through things. And so that's probably mine.
My mom, for the same exact reason. I knew we went through it while I was a kid, while she was working as a single parent, trying to make ends meet. And then thinking back on that as an adult, I deal with stress right now, and financially we're good. She was dealing with it across the board. And I've been able to have conversations with her now as an adult to understand more about not just those moments, but, before she had kids, and she's overcame a lot too. And to see her persevere and still have a smile on her face and, be the grandmother and mother that she is today is amazing.
It's beautiful. Okay, 2 more questions. Best lesson you've ever learned?
Nobody knows what they're doing. When we got started, you look around, you're like, wow, y'all have got it figured out. You're running this big old business. And the more people we talk to, it's like, okay, you're just trying to figure it out too. And you're making educated guesses. And I think that definitely gave us a boost to confidence when we were trying to level up to, store number 2 or the food truck or catering. Is I think there is no proven way. If there was, we'd all be wildly successful.
Yeah.
Or someone would be charging billions of dollars to tell us how to achieve it, right? And so that brought me a little bit of peace.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I think for me, it would be, and we've kind of lived our lives like this personally, but from a business perspective, one of our friends, I listened to him speak one day, it was Justin Forsett, and he said...
Oh, Justin Forsett, that's my dog.
I got to give Justin a shout out. And he said, I was sitting in the back of the room and I heard him say... life's about service. If you think you're too big to serve, then you're not big enough to lead. And that completely shifted my mindset from the business side. I was like, we can't do this alone. And you got all these goals and aspirations with business, but there's nothing more important than the people. Whether it's your team, the customers, it's about serving others, and all that other stuff will come. So we've been really big on that and intentional with that and leading in the right way.
That's dope, man. That's Shout beautiful. Out to my guy Forsett.
I know. That brought back memories.
All right. So if you could tell your younger self something, and Jeff, I'll start with you. If you could talk to that kid that had the free lunch card and kind of started to understand the struggles that you were living within, if you could sit down next to the bed and talk to him, what would you say?
I would say, don't lose your confidence, right? Continue to believe, not say be arrogant or anything, but continue to believe in yourself and sooner. I think as I matured and got older, I developed that. But early on, there was a lot of doubt and a lot of uncertainty with what my future might be. Because when I looked around, there was nobody to look to as an example to where I was trying to go. So I always thought, like, in the beginning, like, how could I ever do this when I've never known anybody to do it? So if I could go back and tell myself something, I'd be more confident sooner and believe in what you're doing.
That's
and
good.
All that doubt and anxiety, you can avoid some of that.
That's good.
How about you, Marissa?
Mine would probably be, you're not missing anything. You're exactly where you're supposed to be and doing what you're supposed to do. I think for the longest, I always thought, oh my gosh, they're moving faster than me. They're better. And just kind of always putting myself down in that. And it all worked out how it was supposed to. Like I felt like I was always working really hard and not always seeing results, but I don't think we'd be where we are today. I don't think I would have made it through a rough 4 years of college. Mine was riddled with injuries. My athletic career was, and getting my degree at the same time. And so you're doing what you're supposed to do. Quit wasting time and sleep second guessing it would probably have been mine.
Really good. Okay, before you leave, you have to tell us what is next for Cookie Society besides some delicious cookies. We need it from the business perspective.
Or
Let
any
us
other
know.
businesses that you guys are thinking about. I know you guys got stuff on deck.
Oh yeah, we do.
We do. We always got some ideas. We're about to open 2 more stores
in the next 6 months.
And
have a baby.
Have a baby in the next 6 months.
But we're opening our 4th store in Prosper, Texas. They'll be open December. And then we're also working on a Mansfield store, which is south of Dallas.
Nice.
Wow.
That should be early spring of 25.
Yeah, we recently quadrupled our production capacity. We moved into an almost 20,000 square foot space, and
and now we're the official cookie of American Airlines Center.
Yeah, so that's got a lot going on.
And DFW, right?
Where the masks and the stars.
Yes,
I
saw that.
Cookies there now.
That's so dope. You know what I love? Like, you guys do a great job of showing the internal work with the cookies. You know, you have your huge machine and slicing them. I'm like, oh my gosh, like
my baby.
Y'all are not messing around, and it is so inspirational. When y'all want to open one out here in Jersey, let us know.
We're trying. We might be there one day.
Yeah,
listen, that would be
that'd be
heaven.
fire.
That'd be heaven. Listen, and I don't know if you guys are you guys considering doing a franchise?
We are.
Yeah, some discussions about right now.
Yeah,
okay. So let us know. Been a lot of back and forth internally.
Yeah,
and that's what you talk about, compromise and like in business, right? You're gonna have differing opinions, even though this is my wife, and she was right. I'm not afraid to admit that she was right, because if it was up to me, we would have franchised a little bit sooner than the conversations we've been having now. But that's why it's important to listen to the person beside you and see them as your equal. We 100% believe in each other and our opinion. And even if I think I'm right, I have the wherewithal to be able to say, all right, she sees it different. Let me go look in the mirror for a second and kind of work through this. And then we come to an agreement.
You just got to keep it respectful. Like you said, this is ongoing. Yeah. And I think if both of us came to it wrong, I don't think we'd be able to have the conversation as we are now. Yeah. But it feels bigger than us. Cookie Society has always felt bigger than us, but we've figured out a lot of things. And the more people we meet and the more we really dial in on our processes, we want to give someone else the opportunity to do for their family as we've done for ours. And so I think that's why we're definitely more open to it and really trying to figure out what that's going to look like.
Yeah, you missed them. I mean, the most important thing is representation is important.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's not many people in these spaces that look like us.
No doubt.
That are franchisees or franchisors. So, in some sort, we feel like it's our responsibility to do it and set an example.
All right. So where can everyone find your brands?
If they're interested, they want to reach out, they want to find out.
Want to support.
They want to support.
Yeah. How do they do that?
Yes.
At Cookie Society on all social media. Cookiesociety.com for ordering cookies if you just want to taste the goodness. And then for people interested, info@cookiesociety.com, and we'll keep you guys in mind. We're always looking to grow.
Or you can follow us personally. I'm Jeff Allen 71 on Twitter, on Instagram.
I'm at First and Full.
Yep,
First and Full. On Instagram, and I think I'm just Facebook. On Instagram and Facebook.
Thank you both for just the inspiration that you bring, not just in the business standpoint of things, but as a couple, showing that you can do anything if you work together. And we know it's not always easy, but it's just finding the common ground and keep going, right? And so I just thank you for that. It's great to see two athletes and meeting in college and still doing it. And just to see not only what you've done in the NFL, but post that. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you for the inspiration, and we appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Y'all too.
All right. Well, that's our show. For the latest on the Inside Lines podcast, make sure to follow on both Instagram and Facebook. You can also check out the website, InsideLinesPodcast.com, and listen to your favorite episode. Lastly, check out the YouTube page, Inside Lines Podcast, and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so that you know when a new episode comes out. And please, leave an amazing 5-star review online and let us know who you'd like to hear on Inside Lines Podcast. Until next time, leave it all out on the field. Thanks for listening.